Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I'll be working in my oil pastel sketchbook. So initially I was thinking about doing a sketchbook tour of this sketchbook and also a video on filling the last pages of the sketchbook because I have I think 3 or 4 pages left. So this sketchbook is my oil pastel sketchbook, so practically I dedicate it for oil pastels only. Of course, sometimes I use other media in here, but most of the time it is for oil pastels. I do own multiple sketchbooks and they all have their own different purposes. This one is more to experiment with oil pastels. Now, when I was filming, editing, I realized that the painting with me video already took over 20 minutes, which is already edited. And I thought the video would get very long if I also add a sketchbook tour in here. So I decided to share the sketchbook tour and this paint with me video in 2 parts. So today we are going to fill the last pages of my sketchbook, and stay tuned for next week. I'll be sharing a sketchbook tour. And also, anyways, my iPad storage is full already with this video. I can't edit it much more longer because I don't have enough storage. Okay, so let's get started with the first painting. I decided to go with fishes today because they're kind of my comfort zone subject when it comes to oil pastels. I love painting them because they let me use the textures of the oil pastels and also use a lot of colors. And for this page, I thought tropical fishes would be perfect because they're super colorful and vibrant. And here I want to fill the page with 3 fishes. So to plan out the composition, I did a quick sketch. So normally I actually don't sketch when I work with oil pastels. I just go straight in with the oil pastels. But just because I wanted to fit 3 fishes on one page, without making one, for example, accidentally too huge so that I don't have space for the others anymore, or I just have an awkward space for the others, I decided to sketch it. You also might notice that I am painting on the right side of the sketchbook while the left page is still blank, and that's actually intentional. In this sketchbook I only paint on the right side of the sketchbook, so that way I don't smudge anything if, let's say, I am also painting on the left side. This is because I don't fix my paintings with anything. Well, you'd say you can also put a glass and paper in between, but if I work on the left side of the sketchbook, for the details I often use colored pencils. And since I press really hard with colored pencils, I will be leaving some sort of bumps in the paper itself, aka in previous works, and that's just going to make a mess and smudge and everything. So I just rather keep on working on the right side of the sketchbook. So this sketchbook is a sketchbook by Royal Talents. I really like this sketchbook. The paper is really nice and it also kind of like is able to sort of handle water. I also use it for other purposes like mixed media. And I really like the smoothness and the color of the paper. And it's actually also quite inexpensive, so I don't really feel bad by only using, one side of both pages, so practically half of the sketchbook. Here I kind of struggled with the Paul Rubens oil pastel. It kind of like wasn't able to lay on the paper anymore. It had a really hard time being smooth. It was super sticky. It had a hard time even laying down on the paper. I really had to push hard. And also it felt like if it was a bit more crumbly, very weird, and it didn't blend very well as it used to be. I remember this not being like this. It felt like it sort of expired. I purchased this 3 years ago, so maybe, I'm not sure. And as a comparison, the Mungyo goes down way smoother and blends also way nicer. So I don't know what happened with it, but yeah. By the way, these fishes are actually from a reference I found on Pinterest. They came from these beautiful collages of tropical, colorful fishes that people make on Pinterest. There were like multiple fishes on there, and I picked some that I thought would fit very nicely together on one page. And I also don't copy them 100% because there are just so many details, and I'm working with chunky oil pastels, so it's also not very handy to include all the details. And also for the colors, I don't really, well, it's not that I don't copy them, I do copy the colors, but if I would like to make some changes like add colors or remove certain colors, I just do so. I don't have to per se copy some colors from the reference image. Like for example, for the top fish, this pink fish, the connection between the body and the tail there in between, I added a certain like bluish purple. And this originally was not on the reference image, but I just thought it would be a nice transition to add that sort of blue transition between the pink and the purple. So for the details, I just use colored pencils because it's quite difficult to make very fine lines with oil pastels, especially once the tips get rounded the more I use them. I also find that the polychromos pencil lay very well on top of the oil pastels. I've tried, of course, different colored pencils. I have the Derwent Colorsoft, the Derwent Drawings, but I find that the polychromos still seem to work way better. Of course, they also push the oil pastel a little bit aside, but even then they do layer much more better and pigmented than others. I don't know why exactly. Maybe it has to do with the fact that the polychromos are oil based. The Derwent Lightfast also do layer somewhat quite quite okay on top of them, but I only have two Derwent Lightfast color pencils, so I can't really tell if that is really the case or not. So we finish here the first page, and actually in the sketchbook I don't use any fixative or spray to seal my paintings, and I also don't put any protective sheets of paper in between the pages, and that's actually why I always leave the left page blank. In my opinion, it's just simpler. And what I do instead is use a watercolor brush. This is a watercolor brush that I actually don't really like, and I found out that it works perfect to brush off any leftover crumbs of my oil pastels. So what I do is I just brush off the crumbs softly and slowly, not that I smudge a lot on the paper. And then I can just move on to the next page or close the sketchbook. And of course the pastels are going to smudge a bit and leave some marks on the opposite page, but it's not that it's that much that it would ruin the painting. One thing that I did is that I recently bought this Degas fixative. It's odorless and it's not toxic, so it's really nice because I can just then spray my paintings here right now, here just on my desk. I haven't fully tested this spray yet though. I tried it on oil pastels, but I don't know if it worked. For oil pastels, it kind of beat it up on top of the surface, and I think this is actually more designed for soft pastels, because when I tested it on my pan pastel, it kind of worked-ish. Well, it was just like 2 layers what I did, so I'm not entirely sure how effective it is or not. I still have to do a full test to see how this works. For the next painting, I want to recreate a digital drawing I made for a challenge this September. I'll put the hashtag on the screen because I don't really remember what it was, what the name was. And this piece is actually just super simple. It's just a kind of sardines. I did it on Procreate, but I thought it would also be really nice to do it with oil pastels, because my goal with this drawing was texture, and that's what you also achieve with oil pastels, texture. So that's what I'm sketching here. One thing I really like about working with textures, well, here with oil pastels, but could also be with colored pencils, or what I do in Procreate is I use the Derwent pencil, is that I don't really need to rely on shadows or highlights to show the shapes of something. Like for example here with the sardine can, it is sort of rounded because it is rolled out, and I don't have to put a highlight on top nor a shadow sort of at the bottom of the rolling of the can, because I can just show this by changing the direction of the lines that I'm making. So here I sort of used C shapes to show that this can is rolling in a certain way, in a certain form. You might also notice that I'm using a toilet paper to brush off my colored pencils, so and then also my oil pastels. Well, I find this quite handy to clean my pastels with, and then I can just easily throw it in the bin when it is kind of dirty. What I also do is I add sometimes some drops of oil, like baby oil, and I just tap it a little bit on this toilet paper so that I can clean my oil pastels better. So for the next one, I decided to paint a peony. Well, I don't know if in the end it did look like a peony or not, but that was my first intention. And what I do here is also sketch it, because going in directly with the oil pastels, leaves by leaves, is just going to be difficult. Well, I mean petals by petals. And what I decided to do first is concentrate myself on the flower itself, and then I'll see later if I want a stem and some leaves, or I was also thinking about just having a negative background with different colored leaves. So like the most foreground would be light green, and then the deeper we go in the background, the darker or more colder it gets. But I wasn't sure if that will look nice or not, so I first just decided to focus on this flower because this was the main subject that I wanted to paint, and also the one that I want to be the center of attention. Now, in contrast to the previous paintings that I've made, so the fishes and the sardine can, here I try to really lay in and fill the petals fully without textures. So here I don't want to go with texture. Here I want to go, well, we still have texture, of course. This is oil pastels. Here we will have more of a creamy blended texture compared to earlier, where I liked more to do more dots or more, sort of line marks. And here I really want to lay down solid colors, solid blended colors, because earlier I also didn't blend that much, and here I really try to blend and laying solid colors. And my plan was also to do something similar for the background. I'm actually very curious about you all watching my video at the moment. Do you also work with oil pastels? Do you paint with oil pastels? If so, please let me know in the comments. I'll be very curious to know about that. And if you paint with oil pastels, do you just paint with only oil pastels, or do you also use them with mixed media, like sometimes with watercolors, for example, with gouache, or in combination with soft pastels? And also, what kind of subjects do you like the most when painting with oil pastels? Actually, do you actually even have a preferred subject? Because I find that I have a preferred subject depending on the medium. So for example, with watercolors, I really like to paint nature, so butterflies, flowers, a single leaf, bugs. And when it comes to landscapes, I really like to go and I lean towards more gouache, acrylics. Sometimes I do a combination of gouache and acrylics, as well as oil pastels as a mixed media. And with oil pastels, I really love to paint just single subjects like beaches, one single flower, as what we are doing here, for example. Or last time I also painted the girl with a pearl earring by, I think it was Vermeer. I think, please correct me if I am wrong. I don't know if it was Vermeer or Rembrandt, but I'm sure it was Vermeer's painting. Once I'm finished with this sketchbook, I would have to start a new one for my oil pastels, obviously. The thing is, I don't have any in stock anymore, any sketchbook in stock. And I say in stock because I usually have like multiple, in inventory sort of, because I do my purchases online, because the next art store from where I live, because I live very downtown, is like 1.5 hour drive away. So if I anyway pay shipping because I do my purchases online, I just buy multiple in one go. And this is an inexpensive sketchbook, so it's okay to buy like 2 or 3 in one time. Now, I thought this is a good opportunity for me because I don't have any in stock anymore that I have to finish. This is a good opportunity for me to test a new sketchbook. There was this sketchbook someone mentioned on Instagram. I'm sorry, I don't remember anymore who that person was, but this person said that the sketchbook is very similar to the Royal Talents sketchbook. So this sketchbook is actually the Royal Talents sketchbook. I don't remember if I already mentioned that in this video or not, but the sketchbook that this person mentioned is called Kangaroo, and this sketchbook is supposed to be very similar to the Royal Talents. So the paper is exactly the same, the grammage is the same, the color of the paper is the same, and they also come in many different colors because I already watched it online, and they come in various beautiful colors. And the reason why I want to try it is just because of the size. So the Royal Talents sketchbooks are let's say I usually work in an A5 format, so this one here is not really A5, it's like A5 but a little slimmer. I think like you took 1 centimeter off of the side or so. I don't know, maybe there's a name to this, maybe this is like B5 or something like that. I apologize, I'm not really knowledgeable about sizes of or any formats aside from A4 and A5 and stuff like that. But these Kangaroo sketchbook come in regular A4, A5, A6 sketchbooks. So I thought I would try them because I work a lot in A5s, and usually when I do like full painting, so where I fill the page and then I scan them, when I do them in this sketchbook, I often have a hard time adjusting the size. Often I even have to crop the painting. So that's why I thought maybe I could try that sketchbook, especially for my full paintings. Like for a single drawing here, like the flower or the fishes that we did today, it doesn't really matter. But for a full drawing, there are moments where I just want an A5. Okay, I almost forgot this footage because this I filmed on a different day. So this is for the last page. It's not very interesting. But basically what I wanted here for the last page was actually a stack of cups. Like in the photo here. So here you already have a little sneak peek of next week's sketchbook tour, because this is a painting I did in previous pages of this sketchbook. And that's actually what I wanted to do here. But I was thinking about actually adding a background for the flower painting in the previous page, but I didn't dare to because I was afraid to ruin it by adding a background. So what I decided to do is to just practically just draw the whole page with one color, and then I will scan these two and then I'll combine them together and Procreate instead. This way I can also change the background color and fidget a little bit with the color digitally if I find that the color doesn't really pass very well with the flower that I made previously. Anyways, I feel like I talked a lot in this video today. Of course, it's also a little longer, I think, than my usual videos. But I really hope you enjoyed today's content, and stay tuned for next week, which is going to be the sketchbook tour of this sketchbook. And I see you next week then for the next video. Thank you very much for staying until the end and supporting my channel. It really means a lot to me. Take care, and until next week. Bye bye!